That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Plainclothes, the directorial debut of Carmen Emmi, which premiered at the 2025 Sundance Film Festival and the U.S. Dramatic Competition, where it picked up a special jury prize for Best Ensemble.
Directorial debut.
Yes.
What is Plainclothes about? A promising undercover agent assigned to lure and arrest gay men defies professional orders when he falls in love with a target. What is your pull quote?
A distressing portrait of the detrimental and toxic effects of the closet, Tom Blyth centers a quiet, gripping character portrait in Plainclothes.
Mine. Blyth and Tovey give heartfelt performances in this impressive directorial debut. I really liked this movie.
I did too.
The story is, it's 1990s New York.
97 to be specific. I remember that year very well.
Tom Blyth plays a police officer who works undercover, basically casing a local mall and trying to catch men who are having sex with other men in the mall bathroom.
A popular cruising area.
And pretty quickly we can sense that maybe Tom Blyth's character, whose name is Lucas, is closeted.
Yes.
We also know pretty quickly that he has issues with anxiety. And it seems to upset him, his task. We do see him arrest one gentleman. And then the next go round, he's supposed to pick up another man played by Russell Tovey.
Yes.
And when he lures him into the bathroom, he quickly finds himself attracted to this man and then immediately realizing he needs to stop. So he runs away, tells his officer, because his superior is also present to help make the arrest. He tells him, no, it's a no-go. But as Russell Tovey's leaving, he gives Tom Blyth's character his phone number.
Beeper number.
Or beeper number, right. So there are a few things going on. Tom Blyth's mom,
Maria Dizzia.
The film was kind of told like, we get like, I don't know, would you call the main story a flashback?
Yes, but from where we are ending, yeah, the thrust of the meeting between these two men is all flashback, yeah.
So his family life is that the dad is sick and ultimately dies. And the mother and the rest of the family are very concerned about Tom Blyth's character and like his girlfriend, like when are they going to get married, have kids. But as the audience, we know that they broke up. So he's dealing with that, and clearly like maybe that's due to him being closeted, but he has a very nice relationship with his ex
Emily, yeah, played by Amy Forsyth.
Okay, then Tom Blyth's boss wants to like recruit a new cop because they're not raking in the arrest they want, and they believe that they need someone who's more appealing. So they recruit this other cop who they say is more attractive than Tom Blyth, and so maybe these men will like him better. So we see Tom Blyth training this new rookie, or rookie, I guess. Okay, then Tom Blyth calls finally Russell Tovey's beeper. And they play phone tag, but eventually they connect and they have a date at a movie theater. And it's like a genuine date and they have a really nice connection. But Russell Tovey explains that his character's name is Andrew. Andrew explains like, you know, I'm married to a woman, I have kids, I can't really do this, but, you know, maybe I can see you again in a week. So they meet up at like a greenhouse, like in the middle.
Out in the wilderness.
Out in the wilderness.
In the cold.
And they start to share more. Tom Blyth explains to Russell Tovey, I'm a police officer. Okay. They meet one more time and have sex in a car. And after that, Andrew, Russell Tovey's character, explains like, you know, I can't really see someone more than a couple times. So this is it. And we see that that really affects Lucas. It's important to know Lucas told Russell Tovey that his name is Gus over the phone because he was looking at his dad's like funeral announcement, and the dad's name is Gus, which is very important. So then things devolve because Lucas is having a hard time at work. He ends up quitting his job after an incident where he's supposed to arrest someone. And as the audience, we see that it's Russell Tovey's character who Tom Blyth is about to arrest. But once he makes the arrest, we see that it's not Russell Tovey. So clearly, Lucas is going through it. We also have to remember that Tom Blyth's character wrote down Russell Tovey's license plate number, and he's a cop. So before he quits his job, he pulls up Russell Tovey's info and follows this man and shows up at his job. And guess what Andrew does for work? He's a damn reverend in a church. So of course Tom Blyth shows up. It's super awkward. There's a confrontation. Andrew's begging him, please do not blow up my spot. Like, my dad used to run this church. Like, I have a wife and kids. Everything will be destroyed.
Who shows up?
And then when Andrew finally gets Lucas to agree to leave, when they open the door, the wife and kids are there. And that was a very emotional. I thought Andrew Tovey did some good acting in that scene.
Russell Tovey? Yeah.
He starts crying. So then we flash forward several months, and it's New Year's. And clearly, Lucas, Tom Blyth's character, is anxious. Something's happening. And then we find out that the mother is upset because she received a letter. And we find out that there was a letter dropped off addressed to Gus, the dead dad, basically talking about how I'm gay, you're gay, I've decided to come out. I hope, Gus, that one day you're able to come out. But of course, the mom thinks it's about her dead husband, so she's devastated. It's also important to know Lucas has a homophobic uncle.
Paul, yep.
And he starts telling Lucas, like, yeah, I always knew your dad was soft by the way he acted.
Nobody could smile that much.
Yeah, he was too sensitive and happy. And like, I could, honestly, the way your dad used to look at me, I really knew that he was an F-slur. And he just starts going in on the dad. And Lucas loses it. He whoops his uncle's ass and throws him through the dining room window. And then that's when, because the entire family's standing there quietly watching, that's when Lucas tells his mom that that letter was meant for me. And then the final shot of the film is the mom sort of starts crying and then smiles. The end. I interpreted her smile as part relief, like, ooh, thank goodness my husband wasn't gay, but also maybe joy for her son, who she could sense wasn't happy. There's so much about this movie I liked.
Which is a perfect, cutaway at that moment, actually.
Oh, yeah. There's another device used throughout the film, which is sort of like Tom Blyth's character, like his memories are shown via VHS camcorder footage.
Which is kind of the technology of the era, which is really interesting.
And it really worked for me. Also, I think, I read some reviews of people saying that this felt very familiar, derivative, and I thought it was kind of a fresh take on a familiar story.
I don't know that we really don't get a lot of narratives that deal specifically with contemporary-ish sting operations of this entrapment that is geared towards nabbing gay men in cruising areas. There aren't.
I mean, of course, the first movie that comes to mind is the movie Cruising, but
that where law enforcement is specifically has a task force devoted entirely to that.
I actually thought this felt pretty fresh, and I found the performance. I haven't felt this way in a long time watching this kind of sort of gay coming of age type story, where I felt, because the moment when Lucas and Andrew, Lucas/Gus, when they go to that movie and they sort of sneak away to try to have an embrace, and then they're scared because they think someone might catch them. So they end up just standing like in the mezzanine of the theater. And just the way they're looking at each other, the way they're connecting, it felt very real. It almost took me back to those early days.
What we had to do in the 90s. And, it reminded me of how people used to refer to your gay age, which I know I've brought up in conversations many times before, but which isn't something you really hear anymore. But it's the age where you get to start being yourself, maybe a little bit.
I also thought the portrayal of Lucas's ex, Emily, felt very modern because we find out that they had a talk while they were together about maybe their sexuality, and how she had sort of revealed that there was a time when she might have liked girls, as she says, but she realized she didn't. And that Lucas has shared with her that maybe he liked boys, as he said. And so he kind of tells her, like, I think maybe that is true. And she seems supportive. And in the end of the film, when she goes to him, well, not the end of the film, after the funeral, so it's still in flashback era, she goes to say goodbye to him because her character is a flight attendant and her dream was to fly international. So she goes to tell him the good news. And that's when he admits to her, like, I met someone. And she says, is it a guy? And then her sort of genuine happiness for him. And also, as you could see in her character's face, like, relief maybe. Because it all kind of, because, sometimes in these types of situations in film or TV, the woman either feels like she's been lied to. But sometimes I think in this instance where it's portrayed more like she's relieved that there was something legitimate that maybe was the reason why their relationship didn't work. And so it was a relief, like, it wasn't anything I could have done.
Right.
And I still love this person and I'm happy for them.
Right.
So it felt very good.
Well, and then she says that thing that I think maybe a lot of us needed to hear at some point or another, like the feelings that you're experiencing, like that's okay, they're good. It's nice to have, you should have feelings for someone else. So go ahead and feel them.
There are also several tense moments. I mean, the first arrest is obviously, scary. Just feeling the tension for this man who was not expecting that. The scene with Andrew and Lucas when they first meet in the bathroom and it seems like Lucas is going to do something, that was tense. Like, oh my gosh, what if his boss walks in?
Well, it's almost like this scenario that's painted, it's almost like Rock Hudson level of code switching.
Yeah.
Like a gay man pretending to be straight that's baiting other gay men. I think that what that would do to you would be kind of traumatic over time, which you can see is happening to him.
Every scene with Lucas and his superior and the captain, like the chief of police, whomever is his boss's boss, that felt very tense, like he's going to be outed. When they do the training session with the other rookie cop, that was tense. I mean, there is a lot of tension in this film.
Well, and it was also the scenario, there's kind of an imbalance of power between these two strangers that are cruising each other because of his occupation. So it has elements of something like a Nightcrawler or Stranger by the Lake. This, falling for somebody that's actually kind of dangerous to have a connection with.
Yeah. So we see that that Lucas has panic attacks. And he uses this device of, well, he does a few things. He scratches his hand a lot. He also has to count, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So I think the film does a really good job of showing that, not only does he have anxiety, but it's probably associated with the fact that he can't sort of live authentically. And I think the film does a really good job of showing how that was nearly impossible in that environment during that time.
Right. Well, yeah, the panic that sets in when your whole life is going to change, perhaps for the negative. And if you aren't able to kind of have a safety net or kind of a plan B for what's going to happen when you come out. Yeah.
Oh gosh, there's a period when the rookie cop decides to come on. They go through these training videos, like those 1950s. And the ones we're watching are like surveillance videos. And that's when they decide to do the same thing. So that scene where we think we see Russell Tovey's character maybe getting caught and the boss,
Ron,
like behind a double-sided mirror with a camcorder, I thought that worked very well. Oh gosh, when we start to see that Tom Blyth's character has like fully become obsessed, that was kind of scary. I was very nervous that he was going to do something really crazy.
Well, because that is kind of a formative experience, and he has no other outlets that's safe to explore where he is. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
But those videos they were watching, they reminded me of Prick Up Your Ears, where they catch Alfred Molina, or Great Freedom with Franz Rogowski. I mean, they've had those kind of schemes forever, but I just think you rarely get to see that depicted and what that does.
Sure. But yep, great performances all around. I was very impressed with Tom Blyth, who I didn't even recognize from the Hunger Games movie.
The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Yeah. I like his hair in this much better.
Yes.
What else would you like to say about the
I think
film?
Russell Tovey was pretty good too,
Oh,
but
yeah.
but I think he's kind of on the back burner, and he, you know, it it's just interesting to. This wasn't that long ago, and it's interesting. It's interesting what scenarios are normalized between gay men because of that, and moving forward, maybe kind of relearning some behaviors. But you feel bad for Lucas because when you get painted into when you paint yourself into that corner and you're not your authentic self, you tell yourself that you deserve to be treated like that's the kind of love you deserve. Like this man is clearly using him. This Russell Tovey in the movie theater scene, he's like, when he's asked if he's done this before, he's like, yeah, but it doesn't usually feel like this. He's playing a game with this kid.
Well, I think,
And you know, I think that when we go through that experience and kind of having that epiphany of like, oh, people are lying about how they might feel, but I convinced myself that this is the way that I have to satisfy intimacy, love, like all of those things, but in a very specific way. It's
I think the film does a good job of showing that Russell Tovey is also doing what he needs to do to get his needs met, which doesn't make it right per se. But it's like he's also sort of
well,
like trapped in this.
but how victims can also be perpetrators, you know, like
Sure.
he's like we all become part of the problem when we allow ourselves to be put in the closet.
What would you give Plainclothes?
4.
I think it's excellent. I would give it 4 out of 5. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.